Hey, good morning. It's Monday. We're off to a start in a new week, and I wanted to talk to you this morning about being comfortably uncomfortable. At least that's where I want to dive into the conversation. How many of you in your life you're comfortable where you're at? So things might be going okay. Maybe your job is okay, it's paying you well, your relationships just are okay. But there's something about that situation that is also extremely uncomfortable. So maybe although your job is paying you well and you've gone to it every day for the last 10 years, maybe it's not fulfilling what's going on in your heart anymore. Or maybe even though your marriage is okay and on the outside looks good, you know deep inside that there's something missing and something has gone wrong. And that space of being comfortably uncomfortable can be a dangerous space, because when we're comfortable, we don't want to step out of that zone to make a change, because change is always stretching, it's always growing, and it's always uncomfortable as we go through the process of it. But the danger is if you don't listen to that uncomfortability that's going on and you just ignore it, it's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to grow almost like a volcano inside of you until it becomes so big and intense that you can't ignore it anymore. And then what happens? All of a sudden we have a crisis of some type in life where we knew there were signs, there were indications coming that some change was needed. So I'm going to encourage you today, if you're feeling what I call comfortably uncomfortable, pay attention to what is that space of uncomfortableness. If you missed my interview yesterday with Chanel McMichael, go ahead. You can find it on the Transcending Limits YouTube channel or in the videos section of the Transcending Limits page. Go ahead and check out that interview, because one of the most impactful things that Chanel said for me, and you see this story of, when you listen to her story of one situation after another, of losing her parents at a young age and then being in abusive relationships and leaving that and being in the domestic violence shelter and then being on her own with her son with no furniture, and then striving to create a nonprofit to service women who are going through the same thing. Just this unfolding amazing story. But one of the things Chanel said was, I've gotten very comfortable with being uncomfortable. And when we can be comfortable with being uncomfortable in the process of change and growth, then it's not so scary to step out of that space where we're super comfortable. So two different types of discomfort we're talking about here. One is the discomfort where you're comfortably uncomfortable and your soul's kind of telling you, this isn't working anymore. What was working is not now working, and you need to pay attention to it. So that's one kind of discomfort. It's like trying to get our attention, trying to show us something new. And then there is the discomfort when we actually listen to that and actually say, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean for me next? And then we step out and begin to make some changes in our life. So for me, I've stepped away from the corporate world. I'm growing my business, and there is some discomfort in that. I was comfortably uncomfortable in my job. The job itself was going really well. I enjoyed what I was doing, but the discomfort was knowing that I wasn't really being able to impact the people that I wanted to. I wasn't able to share the message that I wanted to. And so now, in that transition space where I'm now able to share those messages, but I'm in an uncomfortable space of the growth of a new business. And that's okay, because I have to go through that phase to get to the next phase. Change, if you've ever seen the curve of change, maybe I can find a picture and post it below this video. But the curve of change is where you're going through, you start something, and when you first get out on that journey and you're learning all these new things, and it almost seems overwhelming, and then you start to get your stride and you start to see the successes and you start to see the shifts, and then you start growing, and then you grow and really grow into that next change. And I look at all of the changes I've gone through in my own life, starting from being a young person at age 15, of leaving everything that I knew in my world, where my family left a religious group that was our everything in our world, and how uncomfortable that was, but yet how life-changing and freeing it was to step out into this world that I never could be doing any of the things I've done in my life if we had not gone through that period of discomfort. And then things happen like it every 15 years in my life. And it 15 years later, at age 30, I was going through this major transition of having had a career not work out for me, and being in a really tough financial position where I was always also struggling with my marriage and a lot of things not going well there, and being at a super low point with all of that, and deciding we were living in Denver at the time, and deciding we had to leave there and come back, and we really like started over again from scratch. And that was super uncomfortable. But yet again, in the seeds of that and the seeds of starting over bloomed my next career, which I totally loved and enjoyed, and it supported me and my kids through the next transition in my life, which was where I really needed to learn and listen to the fact that my marriage was not working well. And I had known that for a long time, but I was comfortable enough to not want to rock the boat and do anything about it until that inner voice inside of me was so strong to say that you cannot continue to go on with the way things are. And then when I finally started to listen to that voice and seek, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean next? And then I went through the discomfort of divorce and learning how to be a single mom, and that discomfort of all the things that means, financially and time management, and being a role model for kids on this next phase of the journey, even when I had so many emotions going on inside for myself. And then growing forward through that and really finding my stride as in that new role, and then growing to that next level of knowing that, this career that I've loved and embraced for 15 years that served me well, is now time to transition to be able to really share my voice with the world. And that's the transition that I'm in today. And there are uncomfortable spaces in it, but I know that but that discomfort is going to lead me to a greater expansion and a greater enjoyment of life than I could have ever known if I would have just stayed put. So I wonder, what's the thing that you are comfortably uncomfortable about today? What's that thing inside your soul that's been kind of quietly knocking at the door wanting your attention. So, there's 3 ways that you can explore that with me. I offer a 1-month intensive where we can just really dive in deep. Just you and me. Nobody else. Nobody needs to know what you're doing or what you're talking about in your soul. But we dive in deep and we really get some clarity quickly. And then the next option is a 3 to 6 month structured support where I really work with you. That is a beautiful partnership where you work through the steps of actually making a change and a transition in your life. And then another option is if you say, I know that I'm ready for some growth in my life, but I'm not really ready to dive in on a deep level, then I offer a monthly class that is a pretty good price point for people who are just saying, I want to explore and see what's next in my world. So those are a couple different options of how you can work with me to explore those changes. And I'm excited to be here to be your support guide along the way. So thanks for joining me this Monday morning or whenever you're watching this, and have a great week. Talk to you soon.